We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say, you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Volleyball Through the Decade. My name is Todd Newcomb. I want to welcome you to tonight's session. Tonight we have a special one in store because we have the pioneers of the Bucknell women's volleyball program. This is the decade of the 70s, although the volleyball program became a varsity program in the late 70s. So we have three great alumni guests on the call tonight, along with head coach Tara Hagstrom and one of our current student athletes, Kat Jamison, who is a freshman from Huntington, New York. I want to thank Geisinger as our sponsor. Geisinger has done absolutely phenomenal work on the front lines throughout the pandemic. And as always, they do a great job with our student athletes here at Bucknell. So thank you to Geisinger for sponsoring tonight's event. Without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our three guests, and then I'll turn it over to Coach, and we'll get going. So as I mentioned, these are really the pioneers of Bucknell women's volleyball, bringing the program from a club program to a varsity program in the late 70s. Our first guest from the class of 1980, again, she played in the late 70s, is Wendy Green. Wendy was a four-year letter winner in the program and the team captain in both 1978 and 1979. Our next guest is Sue Atkinson, who graduated in 1981, and Sue was a three-year letter winner in the program. And finally, Susan Bairstow from the class of 81, who was a four-year letter winner and a team captain in both 1979 and 1980. So, Coach, this should be a fun one. The real history of the program is going to come out tonight.
All right, awesome. So let's get started with Sue. First question, if you can update us a little bit on your personal life and what you're up to these days.
Sure. So I am living in California right now in the Bay Area. Moved out here 25 years ago after living on the East Coast. I was in the finance world for 26 years, left there back in 07, 08, and I'm actually currently the vice mayor of Pleasant Hill, California, and will be the mayor come December. So this will be my second go around as mayor. We take turns, so it's my second go around as mayor. I am married. I have one son who just started at University of Nevada, Reno yesterday. I just dropped him off yesterday. In mechanical engineering. So.
Awesome. Thank you for that update. Wendy?
Hi, I'm Wendy Green Herbert. Green was the maiden name. I'm married. I married for almost 35 years. My husband and I just recently moved out, well, 5 years ago, moved to Pennsylvania. We're in South Central Pennsylvania on a small farm. We do a lot of forestry on the property and just personal farming, but it's a lot of fun. We have two children. Our son is the head athletic trainer at Colgate University for their football team. And little competition, but when they play at Bucknell, we get to go to the games because it's a lot closer for us. And he recently got engaged, and our daughter just had our first grandchild. She and her husband live in Harrisburg, which is only about an hour away. My career, after I graduated, I lived out in Lewisburg for a little bit, and then was working in New York City, and eventually had my own business. I ran a warehouse sale for a company that made, imported, and wholesaled children's toys. And so I ran for over 20 years their warehouse sales, which was a great challenge, but a lot of fun. And more recently, I was sort of forced into retirement because my husband retired and we moved out to Pennsylvania from New Jersey. 30 of our years of marriage was in New Jersey. So.
All right, thank you so much for that, Wendy. And Susan?
Okay, well, I married a Bucknell grad, as Sue and Wendy both knew Roger. And the great thing about that is Roger also, I mean, other than the fact that I loved him and we got married and had kids, and we have a spot up here in Eaglesmere, which is an hour north of Bucknell. So we get to go to Za's Pizza on our way there, on our way back. It is still my favorite pizza in the whole world. And so we always stop there.
Went there for lunch today.
No, see, once we're up here, we don't want to get down the mountain, but on our way here and back, we always stop by and grab a few extra pizzas. But I got a job from Bucknell, right with Prudential in New Jersey. Moved out there for a couple of years, and then when I got married to Roger, we moved down to Annapolis. And I've got 3 kids. Rachel graduated Clemson. She's an accountant with Ernst & Young in Charlotte. My son, middle son, actually was offered a track scholarship at Bucknell, but he wanted a bigger school, so he ended up running at Virginia Tech for 2 years and then finding fraternity life and doing that for the second 2 years. And he is now grown and he was out of the house, back in, because he's changed jobs back in the area. And my youngest was at University of Maryland and taking a gap year, just trying to figure out what he wants to do, especially with all this COVID stuff. I worked at Prudential for a couple of years. Then I've worked at different banks all throughout the Maryland area, just programming and stuff like that. And now I've been I retired for a while and then was called back to just help with some stuff in a little spot just down the road, so I can work from home, and it really works out well. I can work from up here. It's great. So, and you know, Bucknell, we pass it all the time, and I just can't believe all the building that has been done since we were there. And the dorms, like, Sue, didn't you have that pull out where when the beds were pulled out, you were basically breathing 2 inches from your, and now those are all singles, I think. And so, yeah, the dorms are much nicer than when we went.
So what's this pizza place? Za's Pizza?
Casa de Pizza?
Oh, Casa de Pizza.
It was called
We call
Zaz.
Zaz.
Oh.
Zaz. Yep.
I was like, where is this pizza? I've never heard of it.
Oh, no.
They called Bull Run Dunkles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dunkles. Was never Bull Run. It was always Dunkles and Zaz. So those were the two.
Even though it was called that when you were there as well.
Yeah.
You just changed it to Dunkles because that's you wanted to.
Yeah.
I think it had been
why.
Dunkles before. I think it had been Dunkles years and years before, and so the locals knew it as that, and I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some history.
All right, awesome. So we'll stay with you, Susan, for
Okay.
question number 2. And if you could take us back to the beginning and how you ended up at Bucknell. If I know recruiting was a little bit different back then, if there was recruitment, but just how you ended up at Bucknell.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
There was no recruiting back then.
Right.
My first year was a club team. My brother was a year older, and so my parents took us throughout. We lived in Chicago. They took us driving everywhere and looking at colleges. And what I remember from looking for him is coming over the rise, coming down the hill, seeing Bucknell off on the right, and going, "This is where I want to go." And so I didn't play volleyball until senior year in high school. I just sort of did it as a whim. I always played basketball because I'm 6 feet tall. Always played basketball. Didn't really love it though. It didn't feel it. And so I did volleyball my senior year, loved it. And when I got to Bucknell, I just showed up for practice one day, and that's what people did. It was a club team. And they said, "Great, let's play." And and we were down in the Truxton gym. Oh my gosh, it was downhill. It was not air conditioned. It was on the second floor. I don't even know if it's there anymore. I know they built some really nice suites down there, but it was on the second floor.
It does exist. Yeah, it does exist. And for CAT's purposes, it's down by the gateways, which are down by the railroad tracks. It's the old brick building there.
I mean, I think I lost 10 pounds in the first 2 weeks of just sweating it off and everything. But so then sophomore year, it became a varsity sport, and they hired one coach to do volleyball and softball. And Terry was a softball coach who they then said, "You get to coach volleyball too." So it was sort of a learning experience for all of us. And back then we didn't, once the season was over, we were done. Once November came around, we were done. And they said, see you next year. We didn't have things to do over the summer. We didn't have to show up early. We just came back and saw who was going to walk onto the team the next year, who wants to play. And, they did have cuts because, if you have 40 people trying out, but, it was a fun experience.
Awesome. Wendy, how'd you end up at Bucknell?
You're on mute, Wendy.
Oh,
There you go.
am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It didn't really have anything to do with sports at all. It was actually for the major because I wanted to be a veterinarian. And so Bucknell had a wonderful animal behavioral program. And so that was the main driving force that brought me there. And shortly after I arrived, I realized that animal behavior and veterinary medicine was not where I was going to end up. So, but that part changed, but it got me there on campus. And I felt like you, Sue, I fell in love with the campus when we first went on campus. And my freshman year, there was a little notice, I think, up, in the university center that said, hey, we're trying to get together a volleyball club. Anybody interested? And I had never even played volleyball before. And I thought, oh, sounds really good. So I went down to Tuscan Gym, down by the railroad tracks, way below Roberts Hall. And Terry was there and she said, hey, I'm sort of new to this, but maybe Terry wasn't the first coach. I can't remember what her name was. But I believe it was a club sport for my first 2 years. Because I was looking back in old yearbooks, and I think the first year it was a varsity sport was 79. Does that sound right, Sue? Suze? And so
78, because 77 was my first year, and 78 it became a club.
79.
Or varsity, yeah.
Right, and the season would have been in 78. Right, 78, 79, and then 79, 80. Was when it became a varsity sport. So yeah, like Sue said, there was absolutely no recruiting and there was absolutely no special workouts for over the summer or, keep with it over the winter or follow-ups on anything. We all sort of learned the ropes together.
All right, great. And then Sue?
So mine's a little different, a little similar, a little different. I had an older sister, a year older, so she actually went to Gettysburg, but looked at Bucknell. And so I saw Bucknell when we were touring schools for her and loved Bucknell just like everybody did. It was just the school that I always dreamed that I'd end up going to. So, and I wanted to be a business major, and the business program there was excellent. So that's how I got there. Now, interestingly, I was a 6-year field hockey player in middle school and in high school. And I actually came to Bucknell to play field hockey, but developed very bad allergies to wet leaves and molds. And so got about six cases of bronchitis between September and December. So I wasn't able to be outside running. And but I hated sitting around doing nothing. So I actually went and practiced volleyball with the boys club, with the men's club. Because it was something I could do indoors and not have trouble. And so playing with them, they finally said, you ought to go and play on the women's team. I didn't even know there was a women's team. So that tells you something. So I didn't play freshman year because I thought I was going to be playing field hockey. And so sophomore year, I joined the team in the first year of it being a varsity sport. So great fun. And I had to learn quite a bit from these two. And it was helpful. The three of us were the frontline giants, all around 6 feet. So that was kind of fun.
All right, awesome.
The average height on my freshman hall was 5'2", so it was really nice change of pace to be on the volleyball team with people my height.
Now we'll have Kat ask a question.
Miss Green Herbert, what advice would you give me or any of the other players that are in our program today about the college experience at Bucknell?
Wow. Just to enjoy every minute of it. I mean, it's great for you to be involved with something other than the academics. I mean, obviously the academics are sort of the most important thing, but I think by being involved with the sport, it helps you learn to set your times better and plan things out better. And I tend to work better under pressure if I have 10 things to do in 5 hours versus 2 things to do in 5 hours. You know, it's like if there's only 2 things, I find other things to occupy my mind. I get distracted. So I think it's a really good thing to keep focused on the volleyball, keep focused on your academics, and don't forget to have some fun.
Thank you. Miss Atkinson?
Yeah, I would agree with quite a lot of what Wendy said. What I really got out of Bucknell and playing volleyball was different groups of friends, different groups of people. I had my freshman hall friends, and I had sorority friends that were different from my freshman hall friends, and then my volleyball friends. It was, you know, we had sort of our own type of family ourselves, and that was really important to keep trying to do different things to develop new friendships with different people, because Bucknell can get fairly small by senior year, and so having different groups of friends was really great. You know, keeping busy. The volleyball, you know, certainly kept during the season was usually my semesters with my best grades, because it did keep me busy. And I think that's really important. But try everything else. I mean, I think I played in tournaments, in the sports tournaments, badminton, ping pong. I think I was champion ping pong and badminton at Bucknell for some strange reason. And you know, we just try everything they've got. My favorite PE class was disco dancing. I mean, that tells you what, you know. Yeah, exactly. You know, it just gives you an idea of what we were doing back then. But you know, if you try everything that they've got to offer, it's amazing looking back at what a great experience it was. So just try everything that's made available to you.
Thank you. And then Ms. Barstow, if you have anything to add, or maybe a favorite memory, that would be fun.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I totally agree with what they say. I find that if I have my time, you know, I've got to structure it. And so it helps studying, stuff like that. But don't just, I mean, maybe your coach doesn't want to hear this. Don't just focus on volleyball. Have fun at Bucknell too. You know, as you're walking along the path, take time to smell the roses. You know, really look around you, and you know, because it's a beautiful, beautiful campus. So, and this might not be in the training, but make sure you eat at Zaz, the pepperoni pizza. It's okay, La Casa de Pizza. The turkey grinders are amazing, and the pepperoni pizza is the best. Grinders are hoagies, subs, you know, they call them turkey grinders there. So
Okay.
now, again, half of downtown when we were there were broken down warehouses with, you know, like the caution tape around them. And then they made the park right across from the pizza place. And they have so many restaurants there now, but definitely go to La Casa de Pizza if you like pizza, because it's good.
I do like pizza, so
Okay.
thank you. I definitely will.
Tyler, ask your next question. Susan, do you know what's really sad?
What?
The students do not go there.
They
just
used to,
don't. I don't
okay.
know why. I don't know why. Food is really good. Maybe it's because on the outside it's not a great looking place.
No.
The students don't go there anymore. It's all the community, and the community goes by large numbers. But
Yeah.
for some reason, maybe Kat can get the kids back.
I'll go. We're gonna
Yeah.
get the team to go.
I mean, it's good. It's good
We're
food.
gonna go.
Great looking when we were there either. I mean, it was,
No.
you know, it was a
Oh
whole.
no, it looks the
we were there,
exact
too.
same. Exact same. There used to be a Greek guy there though, who was one of the owners, and he would go, you know, number 72, whatever, and you know, he'd call your number when your pizza was ready. Well, everybody knew him so much that when fraternities would have raffles or auctions or things, they would actually have him come and draw the numbers and call the numbers, because everybody knew who he was. And for years after, when we'd be coming up and, you know, graduated and going there still, he was still there. He's not anymore. So, you know, that's a long time ago. So.
All right, Tyler.
All right, so we'll go start with Wendy on this one. If you can talk a little bit volleyball wise, how you matured as a player on the court from when you started to when you graduated.
Well, I think the main thing is just becoming part of a team. I'd always been athletic, but not really played on a lot of team sports. In high school, I was on the tennis team, which, you know, is pretty individual. But by playing with other teammates and setters and just everybody depended on each other. And so I think that that's sort of the way that I really grew the most is learning that everybody had your back and you had everybody else's back. And I mean, you all know about volleyball. I mean, you just stretch out and dive and go places and really gained a lot of confidence, even though I wasn't the best player on the team, I will admit it. I think these other two hitters on this call were probably a little bit more, but yeah, just being part of that team camaraderie, it just helped me grow as an individual and, you know, confidence.
All right, great. Susan?
Yeah, I mean, just as I said, I didn't pick it up until senior year in high school. So just being on the team and, you know, meeting people that you wouldn't normally become friends with if you just were walking down the street or, you know, whatever, or, and, you know, just having a nice group of friends and people you can rely on and all, you know, I guess I can't really add a whole lot more. It was just fun. It did start to change though. Toward the end, I remember senior year, we were getting more people who knew what they were doing. And so they sort of started instructing Terry a little bit into, well, you know, you'd really need an other offhand hitter because we didn't have any lefties on the team. And so, you know, and then middle hitter for the first year or two, we didn't have a middle hitter. Nobody knew what that was. And we didn't have liberos. I mean, I watched a volleyball meet about 10 years ago and I'm like, what's a libero? What is that? I had no idea. And I do remember, so and Wendy, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when we had to go play Penn State?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, who decided that would be a good idea? I went to Penn State. The girl across from me was like Junior Olympics. Her hands were like the size of my head. And I was across the way from her like, Mommy. And they spanked us 3 games and we were out of there and we're like,
please don't spank me.
Yes. Oh my God. It was crazy. So nowadays you guys have gotten so good you can probably hang in there with them. But back then, you know, we had just come off being a club team. It was crazy.
What team was it, Sue? And Sue, when we got there and every time they went to serve, they would go like this. And then
Probably
Penn State.
Probably Penn State. There was an All-American player on the other side, and I know what Sue's talking about, because I actually went up to block a quick spike, and I didn't time it right, so I got hit in the face and got knocked out on the floor, and they had to like drag me off the floor. Now the ball did go back over the net, and we did score the point.
Yay!
It may have been the only point we scored, but I remember facing this woman thinking, holy crap, you look like the East German swimmers. I mean, that's how, holy crap. And when she went to smack that ball, I just went up and.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even know what a quick set was.
Yeah, I timed it totally wrong, got it in the face instead, but that was.
At least you were jumping high. You had to be jumping.
I know.
You had to be high in order to get it.
You know, it was. Yeah, it was bad. That was bad. Yeah, it was a good one. Can I show the pictures that I have? I have a couple of the pictures. If you let me share my screen, let me see. Oh, yeah, the host has to enable me to do that.
Let me see if I can do that.
If you go to security and then enable screen sharing.
See if that works.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me put it as
Oh boy.
I always wore a headband to keep the hair out of my eyes. I mean, I look like an Indian or
so
something.
you have to move it around a little bit, your faces,
Oh.
but here's Wendy, here's Susan, and this is the back of me here. And then here we are sitting. I was known as prep because I was always in turtlenecks and a Fairall sweater. And there's Wendy and Susan. That was our
Oh,
team.
and Catherine and
Yeah,
Cindy
Catherine.
Oh, and Nina.
and
Yeah.
Carolyn.
And
Carolyn?
Yep, Carolyn.
Carolyn and Laura.
Nina, she was our setter.
Yeah.
Those two are our setters. So, and no, I got another page. Hold on. How do I do this?
Wow, that's a great picture. Where did that one come from?
These were two newspaper articles. I know. Isn't that classic?
Okay, Kat, do you like the tube socks?
I do. I think
you need to bring those back.
Yeah,
I
so
think I do.
this is Susan, obviously, and this is
the
me.
headband.
This is me and Susan on here. So anyway, I just pulled these up quickly before we were going to do this because I had to share them with people. So
Wow.
yeah, I've got the articles and everything. One of my professors sent these to me anonymously in the mail, and I kept getting these clips because I didn't get the newspaper, but he was kind enough to do this, and he's no longer there. But it was pretty funny. So those were some great pictures.
Do you remember when the school newspaper wanted to call us instead of the Lady Bisons or whatever they wanted to call us the Bisonettes, and we're like, no,
not happening.
no, not happening.
Yeah.
So these are some pictures out of the yearbook.
Look at the hair, Wendy.
I know, right? And that's Nina, I think, already set down there. But I'm looking at all these old pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh. And there's the official team picture. I don't know if you can see that well enough, but it was fun to sort of pull the.
Yeah, it was fun to see that. But Susan was actually right. By the time it was our senior year, people were getting a lot more serious about it. I was telling the story earlier. When I was playing, I hated running. I just hated it, but I get shin splints really badly. So I would play coach in racquetball for an hour before we had practice. That was my warm up because I refused to run 2-3 miles or whatever she wanted us to run. So I said, look, how about we play volleyball? Actually, I put her in the hospital twice because I kept hitting her in the eye with a racquetball. She kept turning around and looking at the ball, and I'd whack her. And anyway, that would mess up our practices a little bit. But that was part of it. By the time we were seniors, I think it was a bit frowned upon, that sort of side game on the volleyball. But it was fun. We had to drive around in vans to sports teams. I remember my first year we drove. We were driving from Juniata, and me being from Connecticut, I didn't know any better. There was a guy walking down the street with a rifle, and I ducked under the seat. And people were looking at me like, Sue, it's deer season. I'm like, I had no idea. I thought some guy was taking pot shots at people. So, I mean, the stories are just hysterical going through volleyball. But by the time I was a senior, it was much more staid and not quite as humorous maybe as by that time. But I mean, it was great fun.
And Coach actually drove the van.
No, but we had two vans. Laura Kinney would drive the other one. A player would drive the other van. I mean, talk about liability now.
Yeah.
I remember Laura Kinney would always drive, and she put on god-awful music because she said, if I'm driving and nobody's talking to me because you're all sleeping in the back, I'm going to play my music.
And Nina and I always had to sleep in the same hotel room as Coach and Chaz, our trainer, because we only could afford so many hotel rooms at our tournaments. So
yeah, but there were very few times we were overnight.
I think it was twice. I don't think we would repeat that anyway.
I don't think
good photos from that event too.
When I played.
Yeah, this was senior year, I think, when we had to do that. But.
Yeah. Wow.
Coach Hagstrom, I think you should let me drive the bus. I think that would be fun.
Not happening.
was a different time.
Oh yeah.
But when you say Geisinger, is the I spent quite a few days there from volleyball too. I used to play with my fingers taped up like this because I jammed my fingers so many times. So I have pictures of me like this with all my fingers taped up, and I'd go to the hospital all the time to make sure they weren't broken, and then they just tape me up and send me back, and I do some fin dip. I don't know, but I'm surprised I don't have more arthritis in my fingers, but. I just wanted to give a shout out to them because they did a good job even back then taking care of us athletes when we had some issues. So.
That was great. Those are some great pictures. And I will say, as a coach, the form looks good. That the platform was nice. So, all right. So we'll stay on with Sue, and if you can tell us if there was one thing that you could go back and do differently, either on the court or in the classroom, what would it be?
Oh, wow. I don't think there's a whole lot I would have done differently. I spent a semester abroad as well during my college days, and that was great. I was in Amsterdam for a semester. That was really a lot of fun. I'm glad I did that. I don't think I would do a single thing different. I hauled out all 4 of my scrapbooks. I did a scrapbook for every year in college, and I hauled them back out trying to find these photos. And just like looking through them, I am just glad I did everything I did. It was just a fantastic experience. I don't think I'd change a thing.
Oh, that's great. Wendy?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that's just coming to mind now that you've mentioned that you had done a semester abroad. So I think that maybe I would have liked to have done that. I did not do a season abroad. Our daughter, who went to Lebanon Valley College, we encouraged her to please do a season abroad, and she did. She was actually in Holland also. She wasn't in Amsterdam the whole time. She was at Maastricht, but yeah, doing a season abroad maybe. But yeah, I loved being involved with the team and the classes and everything. Yeah, I maybe studied a little harder, but
nah.
You have to find a even way to deal with, getting your studies done and still being able to enjoy the whole experience. You can't just be a bookworm the whole time. So yeah, it was good.
Awesome. Susan?
Yeah, I just love Bucknell so much. It was just a neat spot. The people were great. Again, maybe a study abroad, but I really can't think of anything I would have done differently. Maybe change my major a little bit, but I ended up doing what I loved in life, so it didn't really matter in the end. So.
All right, great. Kat?
Yes. I just have one last question, and Ms. Barstow, we can start with you. What advice do you have about networking and finding the right job after Bucknell?
I think the job world is so different, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We had, oh gosh, it was up by the girls' halls up the hill, and we had a building that we could go to, career development or whatever, and they would have, oh God, it was almost like the library checkout system when you had the cards or whatever. You could sign up for interviews there, and I really think they did a fantastic job. They had so many companies coming in and doing interviews. And nowadays it's so different because of all the online stuff and whatever. I mean, I guess the most thing I would say is never burn bridges. I mean, even if you hate where you're at, never burn bridges, because you don't know what you're going to need in your future. So, don't, you always see the people on Facebook or whatever, like flicking people off and like, I'm out of here, whatever. But, don't burn bridges, and, do keep in touch with people. Keep in touch with, I don't know if you guys are allowed to join sororities or how that works these days. I know a lot of athletes, that doesn't really work out because your team really is your sorority. But network with your team, keep up with them afterwards. And, you never know who knows somebody who might be able to help you up the ladder. So.
Ms. Green?
Wow, Sue, I don't know if I can top that. Those were sort of the things that I was that I was going to say. Use all the tools that Bucknell has to offer, both on campus and virtually and so forth. The keeping in touch with people, the number of what a small world it ends up coming down to being, just like between Todd and you, Kat. I mean, everybody knows everybody. And talk. My kids used to get so frustrated. Mom, you're talking again. Yeah, I'm talking again. But by talking to people and having conversation and truly caring about that other person, they open up more to you, and you find out, who knows who, and oh my gosh, somebody, there's a relation or whatever, and just keeping all those things opened. I mean, finding a job back then was a whole lot different than finding jobs now, and I think it's I don't know if it's maybe more competitive now, but just use everything that Bucknell has to offer to help you, because they're pros at it. They help thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, and just to interrupt for a minute too, go on an interview even if you're not sure you want to. My daughter wasn't going to go on her Ernst & Young interview because she didn't think she wanted a big firm. She had one with Deloitte. She really didn't like the culture there, whatever. Well, at the last minute, she decided to keep it, and she is so glad she did, because she loved them. She was like, this is the culture I want to work in, whatever. So, it's almost like clothing. You see it on the rack, and until you try it on, you don't know if you're going to look good in it. So,
good point. Good
yeah.
advice.
And then Miss Atkinson, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I not only used the Career Center, I actually came back for years after that and interviewed for the banks that I worked for back at Bucknell, which was great. Connections make a lot of sense. And what Susan and Wendy were both saying, that's how I got out to California. I just decided at one point I wanted to move to California, and luckily I had some connections with people, and called them up, and within a week I had a job, and they moved me out here, and that really makes a big difference. Also, continuing education. Bucknell's got a great reputation. I went back and got my MBA at Wharton probably 10 years, maybe 9 years after I left Bucknell, but I was well prepared for Wharton's program as a result, and I was glad I could take advantage of that. So do that if you can, especially if you're in a field that's important to you. And then just be prepared. I think, most of the time when I'm doing interviewing for a lot of different areas, people are not quite as prepared as they should be. And those that are prepared are leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else you're interviewing. It makes a really big difference. And then the connections. I'm just in my role here as vice mayor, we're building a new library and putting a financing together. And I got on the phone with the bankers, and sure enough, the guys from Bucknell. And I was like, oh, look at that. So it was, it was funny. He was probably decades behind me, but it was just cool that, that we had something in common. And it was, you bring it up, and it's amazing the connections that Bucknell will actually give you in the long run. Considering I graduated back in '81, and now we're 2020, and I'm bringing up Bucknell again to our bankers out here in California. So it does make a difference, and it's a good tool to use.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll start with Wendy on the next question. And what was your most memorable experience as a part of the Bucknell volleyball program?
Most memorable. Oh my gosh, I've got a cat here that wants to get in. Boy, I should have anticipated that. I think just, I honestly can't think of something that was more memorable than the other. I mean, we really had some pretty lousy seasons. That was unfortunately a memory, but I think the thing that it never got us down. We just picked ourselves up and we're ready for the next team next time. And just that, that we all had that perseverance. So that was sort of, as a team, that we just kept moving forward. And that would have to be some of my memories, how good that was. And all the running, Sue, like you said. And of course, all that running ended up giving me a back injury. after I graduated, I ended up having back surgery between a ballet class where I ruptured a disc and then run and falling on your knees. But I guess that's sort of a bad memory, but yeah.
All right, awesome. Sue?
Well, I've already shared quite a few of the good ones, the Penn State one and our running around the van. I think, really for me, it's funny when we go back. I think the last time it was reunion was maybe, I don't know, 8 years ago or so. But it was so much fun to run into, as I called her, Susan was Big Sue, I was Little Sue. We have an inch difference between the two of us. But she was a bigger hitter than I was, so it probably was legitimate all the way around. And so Big Sue and Nina, and the three of us met up, and it was just like, it could have been 30 years before. It was just, the connection was still there. It was just great. I think those are my fondest memories. We would, get together and do things. We'd go over to, was it Terry's? No, it was our trainer's apartment or a home that we'd go over to at some evenings during the weekend. I don't remember whose apartment it was, but anyway, we would socialize together, and it was just that family vibe that we had as a group that even when, we see each other decades later, that we can just sit there and chit chat about, the times and the things we shared, and it just was such a great memory, the whole experience. So I think my one other one was I had bad shin splints. And so I had to go in, half an hour, 45 minutes beforehand, have my, whatever it was, icy hot or whatever they were using, put on my shins, and then we're taped up. And I remember it dripping down and burning holes through my socks. And oh my God, and that was probably one of the worst memories. And then having to sit in the ice for, an hour later, the whole, one day event, of practice took like 5 hours for me, but just because of shin splints. And hence I kept going to do the racquetball playing later on, so I wouldn't get those again. But really, I think the family atmosphere of the team and how well we got along and support each other was probably, my best memory of it.
Awesome. Susan?
Oh, okay. I don't know that I can add much to that. I mean, it really, no one big thing other than, getting pulverized by Penn State really sticks out. And, just looking back though, and thinking of the liability of people driving, I think one time I started driving one of the vans, and I think I ended up like on a sidewalk or something because it was nighttime. We didn't know where we were going. We were on campus, and Laura Kinney said, "Get out of there. You're not driving, I'm driving." But, just the fun we had together. So it was nice. And, as I said, just different people that you normally would not have seen yourself friends with. So, it was neat to see people from all different walks of life.
So Susan, we'll stay with you. If you can talk a little bit about a teammate you admired the most throughout your career and why.
Boy. Well, part of it is Sue and I had the tie because we were Big Sue and Little Sue. So there was always that tie there. And, I was sort of the, the long hair hippie with the headband. And as Sue said, she was Sue, we called her Sue Prep because she always had like the Fair Isle sweaters and the turtlenecks and whatever. And and Wendy sticks out though, because, Wendy was, up there with me in height, and she had some curly hair back then. And Wendy was Wendy, you were so hilarious. She was so fun to hang out with. She was always cracking us up, so we could never get that down or serious because Wendy always like brought us back up. So, and other people, you remember little bits about them here and there because, some were a year older, a year younger, some joined a year later. So, I remember snippets about people. Nina was our setter for a while. She, really miss seeing her. I think she ended up, is she in New York City? And Laura Kinney, she was great. And I think her dad like worked for the school, and Laura might have ended up working for the school. But Laura was just one of those rowdy, raspy voiced, great girls. So, there were a lot of people. And I remember Sherry Sauer, I think you had tried to get a hold of her, Todd, at first. She was a year older than me, maybe 2. And I think she was one of the captains, maybe 2 years older than me, and she had sort of helped get the team
2 years.
together. And so I remember her a lot, and she would hand out whoever played really well one day, she would hand out an orange, and you got the orange award the next day at practice. And there would be a real orange she'd give you, but then you'd have a little round orange that said, your name and your number and, what game it was or something. And I think I might still have one in a scrapbook somewhere. So.
That's great. Wendy or Sue, anyone in particular to add that you can think of?
Sherry was going to be one of the people that I said also. She was a year older than me, so when we became a varsity sport, I think she might have been the captain the year that
She
I
was.
Yeah. But she was always building everybody up, and I forgot about the oranges, Sue, but yeah, now that you say that, but she had a good sense of humor. She was a really good player, and she just, really knew how to get people up. And Nina, just was like a Energizer bunny running all over. She would set stuff for us like, how did you do that? She was really good. More memories of those, yeah.
Yeah, I would echo those guys' comments. Everybody had their different little specialty. Susan stuck out for me. Big Sue, Little Sue was important. And being a hitter, Susan was by far the best on the team as hitters go. And so I really had to look to her to learn how to hit better, because Terry Grebe stands 5'1" or something. She was never going to be able to teach you how to spike a ball no matter what you did. So I had to look to Big Sue to help me learn, because I was just I was a field hockey player. So luckily I had the height enough to do it, and probably the aggression enough to do it, but I just didn't have the skill set. So Susan helped a lot with that. Wendy always just, as Susan was saying, Wendy was always the good spirit person. She was always kept us, in good spirits. And Nina was great. Without Nina, Susan and I would have been useless as hitters. So, it was really important for, Nina to be there with us. So I must not have been good enough to get an orange, because I don't remember that. Or maybe that was your freshman year, but I don't remember getting an orange. So I must have screwed up a lot.
That might have just been when we were club.
Okay, that makes me feel a whole lot better.
Maybe it was.
Yeah, okay, thank you both for helping me out with that. Anyways, I think those are the big ones. Laura was on my hall freshman year, and we played sort of intramural volleyball together, so it was fun to have her on the team with us. And she does a lot of fundraising for the school. I think she's on the board. Her parents were on the board for years, and so I talk to her every once in a while when she calls to get money from me. And she's out here in California as well, but she's down in Southern California. So, but those are my primary, go-to people.
So before Tyler asks his last question, you mentioned Laura Kinney. I will, if you guys aren't aware of it, our swimming natatorium is named Kinney Natatorium after her father.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but anyway, coaches had an opportunity to hear a lot about you all. Now I thought it would be appropriate, since he's new to the program, for you to hear about his background and where he's come from and what his first impressions are of Bucknell. So Coach, if you want to do that, and then we'll let you ask your final question.
Sure. So I'm originally from Southern California, and I started playing volleyball at a young age with some other sports, and ended up playing in college at a school in Riverside, California, which is east of Los Angeles. It's called California Baptist University. Started coaching high school and club, and I think I realized I wanted to make it a career, so got into the college ranks, and it was strange. I think you're in California, you're a little bit in a bubble. Sometimes people don't feel like you should ever leave California, and so that was hard at first, like thinking of coaching collegiately, like, okay, are we going to leave? I had just gotten married to my wife, and she was from Southern California as well. So we went to Princeton, and we were there for 4 years. And so that sort of got us acclimated to the East Coast. And it was nice to go to New York City for the first time and go to Philadelphia. I have 2 children. I have a almost 3-year-old. Oh no, he just turned 3, and then I have almost a 1-year-old daughter. And so it's been great. We sort of been able to travel a lot through volleyball, and even though we're away from family, it's like I think you get my immediate family is so close because it's just the 4 of us. But now that we're in Lewisburg, we're just really excited. I think the school has a lot to offer, and it seems like no matter which decade we talk to, it seems like the same sort of great things that Bucknell stood for then, they still stand for, and the academics are top notch. It's a beautiful location. It seems like everyone really likes just going to school there, and the social aspect of things is still a priority. And also, hopefully we can be very successful on the volleyball court as well. So I will ask this last question. I'm a new coach to Bucknell. I haven't been with the team too long because everything has been remote. And so we're getting back on the campus, and I will meet with them in person for the first time next week. So if you have any advice for me as their current head coach, that would be fantastic. If Sue, you want to start it off?
Don't play racquetball before warm-ups. All right, just saying, just because Geisinger will get to know you as well, probably then. I think the best thing is to understand sort of the pressure of the kids at Bucknell. All the kids that come to Bucknell are pretty high-performing kids and expect a lot of themselves, academically, I'm sure, athletically as well, and understanding that that's quite a stress for a lot of students there, is that balancing act and their ability to do well in both of those things. Bucknell, freshman year especially, you come out of high school. I got my first C, my only C ever was freshman year at Bucknell. I just didn't expect the kind of rigor that was going to be required. And so I think understanding the rigor of the academics at Bucknell and then sports fitting into that, understanding that balance, I think is probably the most important thing.
Great, thank you for that. Susan?
Well, first of all, do you have a good pair of boots? Because it gets cold and it snows at Bucknell.
I do
remember that. And I remember it was so cold in the mornings, and I remember a friend just going, "It's mountain weather." Yeah, I mean, Sue said a lot. Just remember too. I mean, I know sports are different now, and there's a lot more pressure, and there's a lot more performance and whatever. But I played volleyball because I loved it. It wasn't a chore for me. And just to try and keep that alive in your girls, that they don't get to where they hate it and they're doing it just because they have to. Always remember that the reason you're doing it is because you love it.
That's great. Yeah. Wendy?
Very good advice, Sue and Sue. I think which is sort of along the same lines, make sure that, all the women on the team, show your human side to them. You don't want to just be the coach and be the disciplinarian and always, everything has to be this way. Keep open-minded to different ideas that they may have, different ways of looking at things. It's very easy to want to do things the way you've always done them. And, some of them may be very tried and true, but sometimes a little bit of a difference is something that can bring a lot to the table. And to, just keep your human side open, of being open to new ideas, open to new options, open to having some fun. Don't just make it all work and, you guys have to run 3 or 4 miles. I mean, because I never liked running either. If there's some other ways to get some of that in without physically running, try to come on. I see Kat smiling. Trying to, keep the workouts, a little bit different like that, and just setting the example. I mean, if everybody's not really up for running that day, run with them. I mean, I don't know how the coaches do it now, but I don't remember Terry really running around the courts with us. But you know,
That's because I had worn her out in the racquetball court. I'm just
oh,
reminding
so
you.
it's your fault, sir. No.
My fault. She wasn't running with you.
Now, if I remember right, though, the field house was brand new when I
Yes.
got there. And I
Yes.
think they've had the wrong floor in because a
Yes.
lot of athletes
Okay.
ended up with shin splints they found
Yes.
after running laps and laps. And I believe they've replaced the floor. So it was sort of detrimental.
Yes. Speaking as one that had her legs taped up and iced all the time, yes, it was definitely the floor of that field house, initial floor.
I think I can speak for most volleyball players. They still don't like to run. So something about volleyball players, they just don't
Yeah.
enjoy running.
If they liked running, they would be in a different sport, probably.
Yes.
They'd be playing field hockey or lacrosse. That's really why.
Or soccer. Yeah, soccer.
Soccer, one of those three.
Well, thank you all for the advice. That's I really appreciate it.
All right, so I'll get us wrapped up here, and let me start by turning to Kat and thanking you for joining the call today. First of all,
Oh, of course.
welcome.
Thank you for
And,
having me.
You know, we all feel terrible that the fall is what it is right now, and the situation is what it is for you. But we're keeping our fingers crossed that this spring you guys will be playing competitive volleyball, and that's what we all are hoping for. And best of luck to you this semester. And then, ladies, wow,
Thank you.
great fun hearing the stories. I knew it would be because I talk with Terry all the time about what it was like when she first started. And she self-admittedly said, I had no clue about it. And you all helped her like she tried to help you. And I know she really greatly appreciated that. And I'd also be remiss if I did not say hello from Denise Cohen. She was on the call I had yesterday, and I know she played with you as well.
Yep.
And so she says hi. But thanks for all that you did to put Bucknell volleyball on the map here. And thanks for all that you continue to do for the program and the current student athletes. And for those of you that tuned in at home today to watch, thanks for doing so. And go Bison.